What's up, fight fans? I'm the reason MMA is still banned in New York, Tommy Toehold. Welcome to the Tap Nap Snap Radio Podcast. Let's do this shit!
All right, guys, welcome to this brand new and improved Tap Nap Snap Podcast. I'm your host, Ken, and by my side is the sock to my rock connection, Mr. Robbie Vio. How you doing, Robbie?
I'm doing good. It is a good day. It is a new day.
It's a new day, yeah. We're going to do something new today, and because we're going to do that, we had to bring in a little help. So, Pat, thanks for joining us.
These eyes have seen a lot of love, but they're never gonna see another like I have with Kenny and Bio. That's Serenade.
That's Serenation, though.
But yeah, like I said, we're gonna do something new today. It's called TNS Combat Court. Basically, what a rough breakdown of it is, we're gonna pick a topic that's pretty hot right now, and we're gonna debate it from both sides. And Judge Pat is gonna make his ruling. That's obviously not his name, but yeah.
Oh, it'll be Judge Butterballs, son. Judge Butterballs. And it's all for an elaborate reason. It's just to
and that
sound
name
funny enunciating certain words, and I wanted to make sure that y'all heard it with that New York accent. So you're going to.
See, that name isn't something to be laughed at, children. It isn't something to be trifled with. That name commands respect.
The law.
It does. And so, yeah, we're going to kick that off. And, hopefully it goes good. Make sure you leave your comments and, stuff like that so we know what to improve on it and, what we can fix on it. So we'll take a real quick break, and we'll be back with it.
All rise for the Honorable Judge Butterballs. How you doing?
Everyone be seated. Next item on the docket is MMA Fans versus Wanderlei Silva. Docket number will be 001. The defendant is being charged with assault, evasion, failure to comply, failure to appear, and contempt of combat. Representing the prosecution will be Senior Dick Drip Asshole Kenny, and representing the accused will be Public Pretender and Long Hair Extraordinaire, Mr. Robbie Vio. We will begin with opening statements from the prosecution, followed by opening statements from the defense. Kenny, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honorable Judge Butterballs. Today, my goal is to prove one thing, that Wanderlei Silva should no longer be in the UFC, or fighting MMA for that matter. I'll be using his previous fights, as well as his UFC record, among other things, to go ahead and prove this. I will make it clear that Wanderlei Silva should no longer be fighting MMA.
Mr. Vio?
You're off. Just addressing the court here. I will be making the case that my client, these things, these charges, they're not, how do you say, meritable. There's clear things that the prosecution will bring up things that maybe would resonate to the untrained eye. But I assure you, my client will be vindicated in this trial, and I will do everything in my power to show you that Wanderlei Silva is still a UFC caliber fighter. Thank you.
Thank you both, gentlemen. Given the nature of the charges, coupled with the refusal from all eyewitnesses to testify in open court, this proceeding will be argued via debate between the prosecution and the defense. Points can be objected, and is at the judge's discretion only if these objections are sustained or overruled. We will begin with the prosecution. Dick Drip Asshole, you may continue.
Thanks, Your Honor. Love my name. I guess basically the way to start this off is, you look at the charges, you look at what Wanderlei Silva has done while in the UFC. Okay? He has 7 losses as opposed to 5 wins in the UFC. Not exactly a high-level fighter. But, okay, we can argue that he's fought tough competition, which he has, things like that. But Look at what he pulled on The Ultimate Fighter. He assaulted Chael Sonnen. He attacked Chael Sonnen. I mean, that alone is something that Dana White has always looked down upon. Now he, after all this talk and everything that he's going to do, and as the great Chael P. Sonnen would put it, having his little camera crew follow him around, after all of that, he refuses to do a drug test and is now not fighting. I mean, Your Honor, that alone right there is grounds to remove him from the UFC.
Objection.
Go ahead.
Chael P. Sonnen, he has refused to show his face here today in court. Not even if the court sees fit to overlook that. Chael Sonnen is the only person who is saying this. We have no other account saying anything of the like that Chael Sonnen is saying. Chael Sonnen has put forth these claims, but if he is the only person who is willing to say it, how can we bring in one person's word who is the only person saying this, and we have no way to verify this?
The UFC website took him off the fight. That alone, I mean,
that in no way confirms Chael Sonnen's story.
No.
Your Honor.
Chael Sonnen's statements will be stricken from court record.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Encourage you not to bring that up again.
Very well. Bottom line is Wanderlei Silva is not the fighter he once was. Wanderlei Silva is an average at best UFC fighter, and while he has a name, he's kind of a draw still. He's lost a lot of fans due to this whole fiasco, if you would call it that. But, you know, what fighters does the UFC keep around at this point? None. They're gone by this point. So why are we keeping Wanderlei Silva around?
All right, now we'll hear from the defense. Long hair extraordinaire, step up to the plate.
The opposition here is laid forth quite a nice case if we were trying to say that it is easy to slander Wanderlei Silva. Because yes, it's very easy to slander Wanderlei Silva. He is a fighter who, when many people said he should have went away, he did indeed stick around. And I say to Kenny and anyone else in this court who would disagree here, who would fire a fighter who is on a 2-fight win streak?
Objection. He's not on a 2-fight win streak.
Is he not?
No, he's not.
Kung Lee.
No, he lost to Rich Franklin after Kung Lee.
Oh, he lost to Rich.
You're going to start that one over again, Robbie.
Well, this is a valid objection. He did lose to Rich Franklin. And then Rich Franklin lost to Kung Lee right after that. And Rich Franklin is still around, even though he is sought fit to seek employment in another promotion. And Wanderlei Silva has, yes, he is just now with a lot of controversy surrounding him, of course, that we will get to, but he is coming off of a win, and regardless of practices, no one is ever in favor of releasing any fighters who are coming off of a win. You can look to the situation here, and there are accusations that come from Chael Sonnen and Chael Sonnen alone. Wanderlei Silva is a fighter who has been around since the Pride days. Since before the Pride days, in the days of Vale Tudo in Brazil. This man, maybe he has somewhat of a spotty record in the UFC now. But who are we to tell this man that he should no longer be able to fight in the UFC? Now, on the charges of evading, I would say this charge be dropped now, as the only record we have of this charge is Chael P. Sonnen's testimony. Evading and resisting, these two things, they would go to someone who actually did this, and we have more than just the word of someone else to accuse them with. As far as the assault on Chael Sonnen, I'm sure that almost everyone in the court can agree that in some cases, words can be assault. And if you are willing to go there and say that in some cases words can be assault, then who has been assaulted more than Wanderlei Silva for years by Chael Sonnen? And then in the first instances of them being in the same room and being that close to each other, it overcame Wanderlei Silva. I give you that Wanderlei should be, he may be guilty of this charge, but only by means of temporary insanity and self-defense. He had been assaulted for years by Chael Sonnen. Verbally, in every facet, he had assaulted his record, he had assaulted his livelihood, he had attacked the man's pride. It was only rational that Wanderlei Silva could not contain himself whenever he was faced with his attacker after so many years of abuse. And on the final charge of failure to comply, we once again have a case where this is halfway made merely on Chael Sonnen's testimony. Wanderlei Silva put forth a video on his own. He did not show up in the court, so his testimony in the video should be taken away, but it shows that there are two stories out there. We have two stories to go off of. To take a man down merely because you favor one story, that's not what any court system, justice system, or fan system should be built off of. And I move that my client is not guilty of these charges. Not guilty. In the means of the assault charge, maybe you could see him guilty by reason of temporary insanity, but that's just not even fair when you consider the abuse over so many years that Chael Sonnen doled out to not only Wanderlei Silva, but his family, his people, his country, his friends. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Vile, the court acknowledges your desire to have some of these charges against your client dismissed. I've made a note in my file, and I will render my verdict along with the others at the end of this proceeding.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Kenny?
All right, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you to the defense for their moving argument. But as far as dropping charges, there's a famous saying that was once said. Yeah, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. These are grown men, not little kids bantering back and forth. This was not a one-sided thing of Mr. Chael P. Sonnen, disrespecting Wanderlei Silva and nothing coming back from the opposite side. Just as much came back from the opposite side. What started a lot of this off was Wanderlei Silva disrespecting Chael Sonnen. A lot of this started from a van incident in which Wanderlei Silva was doing nothing but disrespecting Chael Sonnen. He had his little camera crew follow him at a UFC event in which he confronted Chael Sonnen, and they almost fought right there because Wanderlei was in his face. This is not a one-sided thing, so my counter to trying to drop these charges is why. This is not a one-sided thing. This is a consistent thing that's been happening for a while.
Objection, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Wanderlei Silva confronted Chael Sonnen in the van. It was merely to tell him that when he is having a one-on-one fight with someone, Anderson Silva was the fighter in question here, he shouldn't bring everyone else into it, such as the Nogueira brothers and everyone else. It was merely a conversation in that sort, and when Chael Sonnen seemed to disrespect him when he was merely trying to talk to him about this, Wanderlei told him that people in Brazil may not take so nicely to this, and perhaps he may end up with his teeth broke.
But was it any of his business?
That's not what you said. You said that he came to him and trash talked him. That is not the case.
He was disrespecting him in the van.
Only voice to be heard right now is Butterballs. I've reviewed the tape in question, and I'm going to have to overrule your objection. Violence was threatened in that van by Wanderlei Silva.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's much appreciated. When when we're talking about the whole assault case that is being brought forward, the defense tried to argue temporary insanity, due to the trash talk. But do we really want a fighter in the UFC fighting professionally that has bouts of temporary insanity? Me personally, that just doesn't sound very healthy. That sounds like something that can cause a whole lot of trouble for himself and or others. I think that's a very good reason alone why he might need to start stepping down due to his bouts of insanity, as the defense so eloquently put it. This man is a legend in mixed martial arts. There's no arguing against that. There's no arguing what the man's done. But at some point in every fighter's career, it's time to hang it up. And we're not here to judge whether he should or not. It's just we are here to figure out, should he be in the UFC anymore? And due to all these charges, he shouldn't be. The argument before was, with the video in the van, that he was going to, the fans of Brazil was brought up. Well, look at what happened after The Ultimate Fighter. The fans of Brazil flocked to Chael Sonnen and booed Wanderlei Silva in Brazil. That alone shows the measure of the Brazilian fans and how they feel about the whole situation. And with that, the prosecution rests, motherfucker.
Mr. Vio, your counter argument.
The prosecution brings up a fine point. I was doing my client a grave disservice by saying that they could have possibly been temporarily insane during this time. It was more of an emotional plea, and those, honestly, they have no place in court. What do have places in court are arguments based on facts. One of the things I would like to bring back into examination in the court is not a contention upon the judge. There's no one here is seeking contempt, but merely to repeat the transcript of what took place in the van. It was a very short exchange, and I would like to enter that into testimony. It's a video anyone can look up. It's very, very short transcript. I would like to enter in here. Wanderlei Silva was sitting in the back seat, and he asked Chael Sonnen, "When is your next fight?" Chael said it was Anderson. I will go verbatim here from what took place after that. Wanderlei said, "You were doing well with him. Thanks," said Chael. Wanderlei said, "I'm thinking. You make a challenge. You sell the fight, you make promotion. It's good, but you need to be careful talking about some things like Brazil. You're talking bad things about Brazil, and you don't know Brazil." Chael said, Wanderlei said, "When there is something you don't know, you need to respect that thing." Wanderlei speaks very broken English. Pretty much everyone here is probably familiar with that, so not the best interpretations. Chael comes back with, "That's not totally true. I've been to Brazil, actually." Wanderlei says, No, you've been to Brazil, but I am Brazilian." Chael says, "Yeah, I understand." "Like you've been talking about the Nogueira brothers," says Wanderlei. "These guys are the history of the sport. We need to respect these guys." Chael said, "Sure. You challenging them is okay. One-on-one, Wanderlei says. The promotion is good. You need to respect some things. These guys need respect, and the country, we need to have a good conduct about that." Chael nods in agreement. Wanderlei says, "Don't do that no more, because that is danger." "No, it's question." From Wanderlei. "Sure," said Chael. Wanderlei then says, "In Brazil we have a saying, you have respect, you don't lose your teeth. In Brazil we say that. Give respect." That is all Wanderlei said that day. Chael Sonnen said, "Sure." And that was the end of the conversation as caught on video. Wanderlei Silva, maybe you could say that he was being harsh with Chael in this instance, but to say that he threatened violence, in my opinion, that's a bit, it may be teetering a bit on convicting someone on something maybe a bit strong. Wanderlei Silva then, before and after this instance, he had taken people in his country being berated. After this instance, he took a long verbal assault from Chael Sonnen in an interview with Ariel Helwani, where he had his entire career brought into question. And when we begin to talk about facts, because that's what we're going to try and base our arguments off of here, we're talking about a man who just he went into tough Brazil and he did coach a team, and yes, Brazil did boo him, but I didn't know that we were firing people because people booed them all of a sudden. Many men have been booed in Brazil, and I didn't know that we were firing men for being booed in Brazil all of a sudden.
Objection. That's not the point that I was making.
The court recognizes your objection, Kenny. But before we deal with that, Mr. Vile, I have to ask. Do I look like a clown? To quote a great movie, do I amuse you? Did Butterballs not just sustain Kenny's last objection regarding what took place in that van? I'm asking you a question, sir.
This, Your Honor, I I did hear the argument sustained. I was entering it as a different argument. I didn't know that the video had been stricken from evidence. My sincere apologies if I made any breach.
Oh, a breach was made on the balls, sir. A breach, many things, but not buttery. This is your one and only opportunity, sir. You get no more. Don't mistake my kindness and my butter for weakness. You may continue your other points.
Your Honor, may I please proceed with my objection?
Dick drip asshole, you may continue.
Thank you. The point that I was trying to make with the booing fans, I'm not asking for Wanderlei Silva to be removed because he's being booed. We've seen legends of the sport from day one that were booed. That's just part of what happens. My point on that was simply that even the Brazilian fans that Mr. Sonnen was apparently disrespecting and they all hated him and he was going to lose his teeth, they were booing the legend from Brazil as opposed to the American outsider that disrespected them. That was the point I was trying to make.
Noted. Is that the end of your argument, sir?
Yes, sir.
Fabulous hair. You may proceed.
I thank you, the esteemed Butterballs, but I must also point out that nor was that the point that I was trying to make. The point that I was getting to is that this is a long-going feud, and the prosecution just pointed out that the fans have all but turned on Wanderlei Silva in Brazil, and it is all because of this one instance, which is another assault from Chael Sonnen on Wanderlei Silva's character and on the man's pride. Chael Sonnen has been assaulting his pride and his character for far longer than Wanderlei Silva has been had a chance to assault his. In the case of assault in question, Wanderlei Silva did swing on Chael Sonnen, but missed, and then was picked up and slammed to the ground. This is an attempted assault in which he ended up being assaulted. He attempted self-defense, is what I would argue, and then ended up being assaulted once more.
I object. The defendant went full potato.
Objection sustained.
Objection sustained on how is I'm providing the defense for my client here.
Self-defense
After a
was what
verbal
Chael Sonnen
assault
did.
of years and years.
Stick
It
to
was an
yourself.
attempted self-defense. He
I'm
did
about to
not
pour.
land.
Excuse me. I'm about to take the most large amount of cream you've ever seen and put it in front of you both and have you churn it if you argue again. And you know what's going to happen when you churn it? Do you know what it turns into? Butter. Gentlemen, that is what runs and dictates this courtroom. The objection is sustained. Your client took a swing first.
But would the esteemed Butterballs not agree that my client did not land this punch?
Intent and ignorance with your punches, sir, is not a reason.
And as we would not convict someone for murder for attempting murder, it is attempted,
Unfortunately,
right?
Mr. Vio, a charge does not exist for attempted assault. Assault is defined under the law as to threaten and proceed with or proceed with intent to hurt somebody. Your client swung first, sir.
And this goes under speech as well. Would you not agree? There is precedent for such a thing. I would bring up the case of Miller versus Diaz under the strike force ban.
The intent was on both sides, and both sides were punished, were they not?
But everyone agrees that it began with speech, and that is why both sides were punished.
Unfortunately, sir, everyone does not agree that it started on both sides. That's what we're here trying to decide. And at the end of the day,
I'm
unfortunately now,
in the case of Diaz
sir,
and Miller.
sir, I just filled your glass with cream.
Your Honor, if I could make one note, the intent was to assault Chael Sonnen by Wanderlei Silva. It is not Chael's fault, nor anybody else's, that Wanderlei's punch was slow as molasses, and Chael Sonnen countered it. The intent was to hit him.
I object to that objection on the grounds that my client had been verbally assaulted with the intent to sabotage his character. It was character assassination.
You can't double object an objection, sir. Have you not seen Dumb and Dumber? Same rules apply. Triple stamp a double stamp? No, no. Double object an objection? Over my buttery bald ass.
You're right, Your Honor. I apologize. I'm just trying to make the best defense for my client here. When we examine the facts, we see Chael Sonnen has made accusations. We see that the defendant here is making accusations. What we're not seeing is a lot of evidence that my client has done a lot. The tape on The Ultimate Fighter, it's one in many tapes that you can see of these two men, and the long story that's been told between the two. Things may have gotten out of hand that day. I can say that my client, he should have handled it better. We could all handle a lot of things better, but my client felt that they were acting in self-defense. They felt that they were being assaulted every day for years. And when they finally had the chance to get back at the abuser, they got back. On these other charges, the breaches of contract and such, Wanderlei Silva has put in his word that this is not the case, just as Chael Sonnen has put in his word that this is the case. It's a matter of one man's word against another. We cannot convict someone based on that. I plead that we do not begin any court system where you can get someone off of just one man's word. My client Wanderlei Silva may not be the fighter that he once was, but nobody is the fighter that they were yesterday, and no one is the fighter that they will be tomorrow yet. Do not cut a man's run short because you don't want to believe his story. Thank you.
Mr. Kenny, you may proceed.
Your Honor, I believe that the prosecution has put forward all the evidence needed to move this case along, so the prosecution will rest.
Noted. Mr. Vio, closing arguments.
I've I've put forth many facts here in favor of the axe murderer, and if the charges here today were for who gave the nicest head stomps in them Pride days, we could give that to Wanderlei. If it was who was a bad man in their prime, it was Wanderlei. If it was who has surprised people with their ability to bounce back and still get wins even after they've been counted out time and again, that would be something my client Wanderlei Silva is guilty of. Wanderlei Silva, unless you were Chael Sonnen or someone else who was there that day, cannot be called guilty by any of us for evading, resisting, breach of anything. And if we go to the case of assault, we're talking about, as the defense said, two grown men. When Wanderlei attempted to hit Chael Sonnen did not choose to walk away. Chael Sonnen chose to take him down. And if we are to say that one man should let the attacks of another roll off of his shoulder, what stopped Chael Sonnen from letting that missed strike roll off of him? If we are to put one man on trial, we should put both men on trial. And if we put both men on trial, we would have two empty chairs because neither showed up. That is what I am putting forth here today. You cannot convict one man guilty. You cannot say that he is not a UFC caliber fighter, and you cannot say that he should no longer be in the company simply because Chael P. Sonnen doesn't like him. Thank you. And the prosecution can rest. I think I will rest now too. Thank you, the esteemed Judge Butterballs, for hearing out my case, and thank you to anyone else who heard out this case.
Thank you both, gentlemen. I'm going to retire to my chambers, go over the evidence that was presented before me today. And while I do so, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to also eat a piece of toast. And what do we like on our toast, gentlemen? Butter.
Butter, Your Honor.
Butter indeed, sir. And buttered that bread will get heaps and heaps of butter. Court can adjourn for the next 30 minutes. I expect you both back here.
All rise for the Honorable Judge Butterballs. And now, Judge Butterballs will render his verdict.
Thank you. Everyone, you may be seated. Bailiff. You been working out? Doing crunches? Oh, those abs, they just look amazing. Anyway, on to the matters at hand. I've been in the back thinking as much as possible about these charges, which, if any, or all, are applicable, how well they were argued, and I guess my findings are going to have to be this. I do not find Anderson, Jesus. I do not find Wanderlei Silva guilty of evasion. Unfortunately, it was Chael Sonnen's. Unfortunately, it's not unfortunate. I do not find Wanderlei Silva guilty of evasion. This charge probably shouldn't have been brought in the courtroom in the first place. I agree with the defense that it was based on one man's word, and that man is not in court. Therefore, it's a non-issue. That this one's gone. See ya. On the remaining counts, failure to comply, assault, failure to appear, and contempt of combat. Mr. Silva, I do find you guilty. You were obligated, if nothing else, to appear at the Ultimate Fighter finale, and you chose not to. You did throw the first shot in your fight on this season of The Ultimate Fighter. By failing to appear at the Ultimate Fighter finale, you did not comply with your contract, and by not appearing with the NSAC as obligated in your contract to get licensed for your fight, regardless what circumstances may be, that did lose the UFC millions of dollars in promotion, and that does warrant contempt of combat. Alright, let me think of how to that punishment though. Alright. Mr. Silva, these are very serious charges. Most of my time in my chambers was spent wondering what form of discipline and punishment am I going to hand down to you? The reality is, sir, that regardless, although I'm not supposed to be biased as a judge, I have to be. You're a pioneer of MMA. There's no taking that away from you. My love and affinity for this great sport was built strongly on dim soccer kicks to the face, though. For the bulk of your career, you were a pioneer, an ambassador, and did amazing and wonderful things in the progression. And I do feel that does need to be taken into consideration, regardless of your recent behavior. However, as a pioneer, it is also up to you and expected of you to handle yourself better than many other fighters. You are held to the same esteem and more than your peers. That is the unfortunate price you pay as a pioneer. And because of that, you do need to be punished. I've decided, while I was back there buttering my toast, after finishing one piece of toast, when I had made two, and realizing I was full, that there's really only one punishment that I can dish out. Mr. Silva, you're eating some buttered toast, sir. Furthermore, I added Flamunda cheese to it. Boom! Enjoy.
And that, fight fans, is TNS Combat Court. So, hope you all enjoyed it. Judge Pat?
Jeez, dude, I'm never gonna eat fucking butter again.
Hey.
We pretty much ruined butter.
Or we brought it back. I mean, yeah, it
Bringing
kills
butter
you, but
back.
I mean,
It worked, though.
heart failure.
But,
I gotta say, Wanderlei Silva, he got off easy. I feel like at least it was a small victory for us. You know, we weren't crucified in the court at least.
yeah, and
You know, Judge Butterballs is a nice guy. I'm not mad at him.
big
He's good
note to
people.
take from this, too, fans, is these are not our actual opinions. This is all done in fun. We all love Wanderlei Silva. You just can't not love him. So don't take what we said here as our actual opinions on the guy, please. We don't need a bunch of people going off. But we do.
For the love of God, just try to have fun with one thing ever. Just do it. Just one time.
Yeah,
One time.
Wanderlei's in the top 3, I think, for all of us.
He's my favorite fighter. So
yeah, he's second behind Crow Cop for me.
Yeah.
We all hang from the nuts of that axe murdering son of a biatch. Big set of balls he's got too, holding all 10 of us, 10 Evans now. Yep. And I'll tell you what, we all have room to spare on those balls. So everyone else, man, feel free to jump on them because it's a good place to be. His balls. Disappointing right now, but by and large, and I do mean large, not bad.
Yeah, just, we want to hear your comments and stuff, but guys, just if you listen to this, just know that this is not our opinions of the guy. This is
Even
all fun.
if you don't make it to the end of this, we might want to put a disclaimer at the beginning because people will potato. They tend to do it.
Well, to be fair, I think the other thing is this will improve. This was our first time and completely off the cuff. We got a bit of a format down now. It's gonna be more comfortable. So just like the original TNS radio from the first to now, a drastic difference. It'll be a lot more compact, precise, and flow a lot better.
And more fun too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
things get better
for a
the more
first
you
round.
do.
Yeah, especially when you give the long-haired guy the fucking case that's inarguable.
Oh my God, that's brutal. See, it was brutal, people. But
Trial by fire.
It was fun though, guys.
it was a fun time. Any Wanderlei Silva fan would have probably made the exact same arguments, even though they had really nothing to say. I think I hit a home run with that one charge getting dropped. So there we go. Wanderlei fans, we got one.
Amen.
Good job. But so yeah, with that, we're gonna start. This is gonna be a weekly thing for us. Me and Robbie are also talking about doing a second show every week that will include MMA history. It will be just a look back at different things throughout MMA history. You know what happened. Such and such long ago. So any opinions on that? What do you guys want to hear? Stuff like that. Just shoot us a message. Leave it on the post. Whatever. Just let us know.
We're trying to improve. We're trying to give you different means of interacting and being entertained by the TNS posse of wild, weird. God, we're weird.
Dude, wait. I'm working on the shoot right now, and you guys are gonna fucking die.
Of course.
Awesome.
That is another thing. All of the combat courts we're thinking are going to be accompanied by sentencing shoots.
Yes.
Which TNS, we are known for our shoots. These will be no exception. These are either going to be huge hits or huge
Flops.
sources of butt hurt for people.
Yeah, and you'll see our cover picture for it as well. Shouts out to Pat for creating that for us.
Aw, you
Although I
fucking
did
sunshine.
have a little hand in it. I added me and Vio.
We're improving slowly but surely. Everything gets cleaner. It comes together. It comes together nicer. Everything gets better.
It does. And hopefully we improve. And your questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, please let us know.
Help us improve with us.
Yeah, exactly. Pat, really
Dur.
appreciated it.
You're very welcome, sunshine.
Always
Anything for a
awesome to be
man
in the
with-
presence of Judge Butterballs.
Aw, shucks. Thanks, guys.
So, and Robbie, of course, it was fun. Maybe
Oh,
next
it's
time I'll
always
give you the easy argument.
Yeah, well, one day we're going to knock them out of the park, but I'm okay if we turn into the Brooklyn Brawler of lawyers over here. We're the public defender. We're the cheap guys.
Yeah, definitely. So with that, fans, we will catch you on the next podcast. Peace.
Bye.